Hey everybody, so I'm back, another belay device review here. Sticking with the Grivel theme, I have the Grivel Shuttle right here. This is a Gigi style device, as you can see. It does have this curve in it though, which is actually very fascinating. That's the reason why I wanted to get and play around with this thing, is for the fact that it has this interesting curve right here. If you don't know what Gigi devices are used for, I say Gigi after the Kong Gigi. It's called the Shuttle, but Gigi has become the name of these style of plate devices. You pretty much use these a lot in guiding. They're really great when you have two separate climbers and you're belaying them up on two separate ropes, independent of each other. They're also really great just for belaying from above if you maybe have a thinner device with a fatter rope, because these slots right here tend to be wider than on standard belay plates. And this is actually kind of an interesting style because, like I've mentioned before, in Grivel's gear that they have, they tend to be sort of more gimmicky style devices. For example, the Master Pro, where it has this big dinosaur horn on it that really doesn't add anything to the device, but it sort of solves one or two issues that you might have depending on what kind of practice you use. This, instead of just being a regular Gigi, where if we got all this out of there, like there you go, now it's just a regular Gigi, they decided to add on these extra holes. So now it's kind of a cross between a Gigi and a rigging plate. And I'll sort of tell you about how Grivel uses the rigging aspect as an example. But I actually think that this could come in handy for maybe some rope rescue systems. I guess maybe not, since I haven't seen it in any sort of rope rescue systems, but maybe if you want something that can hold a fixed line as well as belay someone up, this could be the device for you. But it really worked itself into a niche market. And I'll show you how Grivel recommends you can use it, but it's kind of like the way how it's set up, you're not really gonna climb that way anyway. But onto some stats. This it doesn't weigh too much. It's about as much as a normal Gigi, which is nice. Weighs probably a little bit less than most belay devices on the market, but usually when you carry this you also have a second device, so that kind of outweighs the benefits there. It takes rope diameters from 7.3 to 11 mil. So that's actually really wide. And I'll show you the trick that you have to use with GGs if you do have really thin ropes, because there is a huge pitfall there. I explain it in my Camp Ovo review, but I'll also take the time to explain it in this review. And then other than that, it's pretty much just a cut piece of metal. It does give you a little bit of directions on how to use it on the side, if that can focus. It's not going to focus, but I'll show you how to use it in the video anyway. But keep in mind that if you're buying a device, you should know how to use it before you get it and before you bring it out and start belaying your friends off of it. Alright, so I'm going to talk about this device in belay from above mode. You can use it for lead belaying or top rope belaying off your harness, just like on the ground, but it's not exactly meant for that. I mean, you can get away with doing it, but it's not exactly best practice to use this sort of device for that application. You're best off using some other belay device, like, well, name one, any of them out there. But the big thing with this one was the curve. And for me, I was sort of wondering, like, are you supposed to have it flipped a certain way while you load it in order for the curve to be what it is? But I belayed people, like both single people and two clients at one time, off of the curve being this way and off of the curve being that way. And I find that it doesn't really make a difference. So for some reason it's just curved, I don't know why, but it doesn't really matter as far as loading it. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to take the hole where my thumb is. I haven't seen anyone load it like this, and I haven't personally tried loading it upside down like that, but I'm certain it'll work just the same. But the way Grivel recommends it is to load it onto the anchor where your thumb is, where my thumb is. So I clip it into that small hole, and then I have the 3 holes facing down. Then I pull up my rope, There you go, there's my climber's end, the brake strand, so I'll put climber end on top. Gotta grab another carabiner here, lock it, and then there we have it. Now the idea is that the carabiner just stops the rope from going through the plate. And I can belay up just fine. If the device was flipped over, it would belay exactly the same as well. Lock down on the climber. You can always check to make sure that you've loaded it correctly by tugging on the climber side, and then the rope doesn't go anywhere. Whereas when you pull in rope, rope should actually move through the device on your brake hand side. Just for a little fun, let's flip it around. Put the rope through. Yep, climber's side, exactly the same. If you have it on the curb side, you can pull in rope, and then the climber's side doesn't go anywhere. So, I don't know why that curve is there, but it just is. If you want to release the device for any reason, then you can either put a sling around the bottom hole and invert the device like before, or you can use the load strand dependent method, where you actually separate the climber strand from the brake strand. If you want to know more about that, you can look at my lowering climbers from above video, or I may have used different wording than that, but it's how to lower from the top in that video. And so the big deal with these devices, and it'd be easier to show you with thinner ropes, but is the ropes can actually get inverted, so that way the climber side becomes the bottom strand. And that's a big pitfall with these Gigi style devices and with how thin ropes are getting. So if you're using a rope that's like even 9 mil or lower, then you do have to add in an extra step while you load the device. So what I do here is I take my rope, I thread it through the device, making sure climber side is on top, brake side on bottom, and then I pull the loop all the way through, match it up with all 4 strands right here. And the ones you want to pay attention to are the 2 strands on this side and then the inside of the loop right there. Take your carabiner, you can clip the loop, and then you clip these 2 strands as well. Lock this guy up, and then I can slide the carabiner. It is a little tough with all the holes, but up to the middle of the device, and there you have it. So you can see how the carabiner is actually around the device itself. I can still pull in rope. The climber strand still breaks like it does, but because of the carabiner being like this, you don't run the risk of the rope inverting on itself. If you have 2 strands going in the device, either belaying twin ropes or belaying one climber at a time, just like that, you can see how I can pull each strand independently. Then you don't need to do the carabiner trick from before, because the strands themselves will hold everything in place. But it is best practice to actually to stick all the strands in and still bring the carabiner up. Now with this device and this rope, it may be nice to kind of have a bigger carabiner, but there we go. So you'll still see people doing that in terms of best practice. May add a little bit of extra friction, but it's worth it for the security that it'll add too. I think with I can just barely make it work with this normal size carabiner, but it may be nice to have a really big, like really big Petzl Williams style carabiner with you if you are going to use this technique. It is kind of annoying to take it on and off. So what I was talking about before, about how Grivel has sort of crossed this with a Gigi and a rigging plate, is now we also have these extra holes on the bottom. And while most Gigis will come with a hole right below, because it doesn't matter which one you clip into, this one also has these 2 on the side. And so what they market it as is, let's say you have your friend up here already, and you're belaying someone else up, which already is kind of a weird situation. You can have them clip in to this end right here, and then now it's just a regular like anchor for them to sit on. Yeah, there we go. Regular anchor for them to sit on, and you can still belay someone else up. Or even you could sit on this device, use it as like a master setup while you belay someone else up, which you know, there's not too much use for that. They also have, like, you can clip, in the video you'll see they'll clip like a bunch of stuff onto the side. You can clip your other person in on this hole, another person on this hole, belay someone up. It's like, the idea is that it's just making a gargantuan mess on your belay plate. And ideally, if you know what you're doing, you're using best practices, you shouldn't have this set up ever where you're clipping everyone into this one metal point. Maybe they were going for like some form of master carabiner, only it's a master belay plate, but it's really getting over the top and has so much unnecessary gadgets. Again, I think maybe this could be useful in rope rescue, or rope rescue sort of techniques, but I just don't think it has, it's the same as any other Gigi device on the market. Now that being said, it's a really good Gigi, and if you're in the market for a Gigi type device, then yeah, go ahead and get this. I mean, it gets the job done, but it does come with extra features that are unnecessary to say the least. Unless you're really in some sort of mess, maybe this could help you get out of that mess, but if you're using two ropes for two different people, you should know what you're doing anyway, and you shouldn't really be in need of some sort of get out of jail free card like this. So I guess I've already started spilling some of my final thoughts in the last segment there. But yeah, it's just to reiterate, it's a Gigi style device, so buy it for a Gigi. If you want a Gigi for whatever reason, it's good for guiding, good for climbing in groups of 3, and really nice on the elbows when you pull rope through because of the less amount of friction. Just be aware of some of those pitfalls, like the big one I mentioned in this video. And I don't know, if some of you guys out there that really like rigging, leave a comment and tell me if you could use this for anything. I'm not the master of rope rigging. I don't really do too much of it, or rope rescue stuff, and also don't do too much of that. I don't have too much experience with those systems either. So if you think that this could be useful in that, then please leave a comment below. But I think in terms of climbing and guiding, it has the same use of any other Gigi with a little bit of extra swag right here. These extra holes aren't really going to do too much good in the field. Now that being said, maybe I'll get into some situation later on and I'll be using this where these actually come in handy, and I will make a video about that, just so that way I can cover all the bases and everything. But so far right now with what I've used this as, I think it's been a great Gigi. It's really good being a Gigi, and it doesn't need to be anything more than that. It just has a couple extra holes on it, that's all. So Grivel, nice job. You made a great belay device. It still has some of your trademark gimmicks in it, but I'd say that this is definitely worth owning, especially if you don't have a Gigi. Well guys, thanks for watching my video, and if you have any questions or comments or anything to add, then please leave a comment. I try to read them all and see what other folks have to say, and then I'll catch you in the next video.